everybody, happy Thursday. I hope you are doing well. For those of you that are new, my name is Susan. I'm a freelance fiction editor specializing in science fiction, fantasy, and romance. This week we're going to talk about author mentors. Writing, publishing, regardless of whether you're going the traditional route, the indie route, self-publishing, what have you, is a very solo endeavor. You're going to have a lot of people that you're working with on certain aspects of it, so the editing or the marketing or the audio, things like that, but really it all funnels back to you. And that can be a bit isolating as well as it can be a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of things to learn. This isn't like a traditional corporate job where you're stepping into an empty position that someone has done exactly before, they've moved on, or maybe hopefully they've taken the step above you and can do on-the-job training. They're showing you exactly what to do to succeed and how to move forward. While there are commonalities, being a published author is very different in some ways for every author that goes through it, especially when it comes to crossing different publishing paths, when it comes to different genres, when it comes to all sorts of different factors. So once you're ready to take your publishing career to the next level, once you've sort of figured out your style, where you want to go, what you want to do, I highly recommend you look for an author mentor. So what do I mean by author mentor? I mean somebody that is at a higher level than where you're at now, but has gone through a similar process. Like I said before, everybody's journey is different, but if you can find someone that is publishing in the same way, so whether you want to self-publish, hybrid, traditional publish, what have you, in a similar genre, maybe they have a similar style, things like that, they'll have gone through a lot of the same trials and tribulations as well as the same successes that you either have or are starting to go through, and can help you navigate that with feedback, with critique, with business advice, with just in some respects that coworker or mentor-mentee mentality and conversation. It's really helpful to have that resource, especially when you're sitting in a room or a coffee shop or wherever you write day in and day out, feeling like you're doing this sort of all on your own. This person, whoever you found, is really going to be able to hopefully help you with your mentality. So when you get that bad review, when you get an edit back, when you're having imposter syndrome, anything like that, as well as your goals, either setting them or keeping on track, as well as just business advice. Maybe they've gone through the process of self-publishing before, or reaching out to audiobook narrators, or finding a publicity team, or just in general writing and story improvement. So not necessarily an editor or a beta reader, but a trusted resource of someone that you can bounce plot ideas, character flaws, anything like that off of, where you know that they are really great at crafting a story and they will be able to give you good feedback even in the early stages. So an author mentor can be really phenomenally helpful at all stages of an author career, but especially when you're just starting out. So as somebody who's just starting out, what should you look for? As I said, you want to look for somebody who's a bit further along in their career, but you want to find somebody that's still close enough to have experience publishing and writing in your same environment. Now, what do I mean by that? So obviously, if you're writing science fiction and fantasy or romance, there are a ton of really big authors that you look up to that maybe you follow on social media, or you've studied how they write or anything like that. And you're like, well, clearly they are successful. They have done really well. I want to be where they're at. I want them as my mentor. That may not be the right choice for you. So, for example, if you are writing historical romance, you may look up to Julia Quinn. I mean, she has been in the news all over the place. She's a phenomenal writer. She seems like a great person. She'd probably be really fantastic to get critique from and have a lot of great ideas to help you. But she's, while probably lovely, not going to have time to do that. I cannot imagine her schedule right now. As well as she is not in the same place as you. So when she puts out a piece of content online, it is going to do extremely well whether she pushes that or not. She's probably not worried about what hashtags she has to put on her content to make it push further into the media. She's also probably not super worried about how to craft her style, how to hone her voice. She's done that. She's been publishing since, I think, the 90s. Dear Julia Quinn, if you ever watch this, I'm so sorry if I'm dating you, but I think that's correct. And, she is also not thinking about, well, should I go hybrid, or, well, should I be self-publishing, or at least I'm assuming she's not. So if those are questions in your mind, she's not going to be the right mentor. It's the same thing for any other big name out there. So George R. R. Martin, again, he is massive. He's not going to have the same concerns or anything like that. So while he or she, whoever you're thinking about, may remember what they were doing at that time, if they're too far past where you are, where you want to be, where you're trying to grow to, that next step, not the ultimate goal at the end of the road, then you want somebody that's a bit closer, that's more in between, that can give you advice from their personal experiences, their recent personal experiences, because publishing is changing on a daily basis, and they can really help you take that next step as things stand now. The next thing to look for in an author mentor is somebody that you get along with and can relate to, most importantly, so that you feel comfortable taking advice and critiques from them. This is somebody that's going to be diving into the most personal aspects of what you're trying to do, and they are going to have a front row seat to both your failures and your successes. So you want to make sure you have self-evaluated enough to know what you need, what you want, who you need, so that when you have that relationship, you can benefit from anything that they may tell you that might suggest a change or a pivot or anything like that you need, and you're able to take that criticism and sort of internalize it, think about it, and use it in your own way. Not necessarily always changing because they tell you to, but using that relationship to its fullest benefit, not getting defensive or saying no because they're pushing you in a new direction. It's also important to find somebody who you're able to regularly meet with or check in with. So you might be able to find somebody who meets all the criteria we just talked about, so they're in the same genre, you get along with them, you can take critiques from them, they are at a higher level, so they're great to show you the ropes of all these things, but if they're so busy they don't have time to check in with you, I would say at least once a month, you're not going to get the benefit from that relationship that you need, which is a regular check-in that's going to keep you on track, that's going to keep you accountable, that's going to help you if you have any business questions, or maybe you're struggling with mindset, or your writing's been struggling, everything like that. And while it doesn't need to be an in-person thing, which obviously even more nowadays is getting complicated, but more than just a quick email, you want to have that sort of deeper exchange. Again, you want this to be somebody that you're very comfortable with, that you can have those long conversations with, not even necessarily about just specifically you, but about publishing in general, exploring the industry, understanding terms, understanding what's going on, so that you're benefiting from that knowledge from what they know and being able to apply that to yourself. So you want to make sure it's somebody that's going to be able to dedicate that time. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is asking a lot of someone, and it is. It for sure is. But it is a key piece to have one or multiple, if you find somebody that maybe doesn't have the time to do monthly, but you can have several different sources of these types of mentor relationships, that's fine too. But it's important to have somebody or people like that to be able to help you grow and to be able to show you how possible that next step is. So where do you find such mythical creatures? So first and foremost, explore your connections, explore the people that you've talked to, the author friends that you have, maybe ask them who they sort of look up to or use as a mentor, anything like that. Or if these people are close to you, somebody that you trust and are already at that stage, they may not think about it, but maybe they could be your author mentor. I find that most people, some of the best people that are author mentors, it never occurred to them that they could do that, but it is something that they excel at. And it is a cycle. So as you're learning these things, keep in mind what worked for you, what you really liked, and maybe volunteer to be a mentor to somebody who's just starting out, who's a level below you. That's how all of this continues, how we push forward this knowledge, how we continue to get massively awesome authors that learn from each other. So once you're beyond your connections, nothing's really popped up as far as a viable option or anything like that, start looking in your author groups, your writing groups, join some of the Facebook groups, join some of the associations that are for your genre, anything like that, and see if there are any resources there or any people that might make sense in those. Next option is conventions. You're going to meet a lot of really great people at these conventions that might be, again, in a similar space as you or just above it, where you can sort of foster that relationship and eventually grow into a mentor-mentee connection. And finally, if none of that works, blind outreach. I guarantee you, if you have done your research on your market and who's similar to you, all of your author comps and your competitor comps, everything like that, you are probably following on social media a whole bunch of people that would make awesome candidates for your author mentor. Now, again, like I said, it may have never occurred to them and they may not want to. This is not something obviously that you're paying them to do. It's sort of a reciprocal relationship. Maybe you can beta read for them. Maybe you are further in the business, they're further in the writing, anything like that. You want to make sure it's beneficial for both of you. You don't just want to take up somebody's time, but being able to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I would love to see if we can chat about this. Hey, I'd love to talk about an informational interview about this, and slowly find somebody that you have that connection with, that you feel like you might be able to approach them about asking if they would be your mentor. I know it sounds like a really awkward thing, and it kind of is, because none of us like asking for help. It's not fun in any way, shape, or form, but this is a just vital step. I cannot stress it enough, to be able to really not only take your writing career, your publishing career to the next step, but push yourself to do so. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. All of my information is below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next week, keep writing.